review on the movie. So I will be spoiling the movie and talking about all the details within the film. So I put spoiler warning in the title of the live stream and the description so that you guys are fair warned. Um, so you've been warned, so don't get mad at me. Um, so my overall thoughts of the movie was it was really good. I've been hearing a lot of the reviews and stuff were really good. It was the best movie since Endgame and everything like that. And uh, I think it's not quite up to. I don't know that I would say it's the best movie since Endgame. I think Spider-Man No Way Home is probably the best one since Endgame, but I would put this one right under No Way Home. I think Thunderbolts is just under No Way Home as far as movies since Endgame, which most of the movies since Endgame haven't really been that good, except for No Way Home and Thunderbolts. And I really liked this story, even though there wasn't a whole lot of spectacle, I guess, or superpowers, but it was grounded, and I really liked that about this movie. And it really felt to me like a complete movie, which we haven't really seen from Marvel in quite a while. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Um, it sort of felt like a Phase 1 or Phase 2 MCU movie, to where it was a little more simple, if that makes sense, but yet it was a complete movie, and I don't really have that many complaints or gripes about it. Even though, like, it wasn't as grand a scale as, like, an Avengers movie or anything like that, but I didn't really expect it to be. So I had sort of, it met my expectations and slightly above, I think. I mean, it didn't like completely blow me away, but I wasn't disappointed at all either. So um, I think they did a really good job of making these characters that we care about. Giving them, um, showing their downfalls and their flaws, and showing how they still care, and they're human. And I think at the core of every MCU character, that's the best part, is just making characters that we care about. Because these characters, most of them don't have really superpowers, technically. I mean, most of them are like super soldiers, but you know what I mean? Like, they're not um, like Thor, or they're not like Iron Man or anything like that. But I cared a lot more about these characters than I did a lot of the other characters that were introduced in this last phase or so. Um, and I think that's the most important part, is making us care about the characters, and then we can build off of that. Um, but I really enjoyed that, because even in, I think the crazy part about it is a lot of these characters I really didn't like, or didn't have any kind of like emotion, or I didn't care about most of these characters. And this movie made me care about them a little bit more. Like Yelena and Red Guardian, I already cared about from Black Widow, because I think those two characters were the best part of that movie. And yeah. Oh, and I gotta talk about how they killed off Taskmaster, like, within the first few minutes. Well, I guess it was a little bit longer into it, but we didn't see much of her, and she got killed, which pretty much everybody knew was gonna happen, because she wasn't in, like, the marketing campaign or anything very much. And but I like how, like, they played it off, because they, like, shoot her, and then they're, like, rummaging through her stuff, and Ghost and John Walker take something from her, and it's like, Yelena's like, how about a little respect? And we're like, we don't really care. It's so bad, but it's so funny. Yeah, I think that was a smart move on Marvel's part, honestly. Both in the fact that nobody really liked that character very much, and I don't see how she really fits in with the rest of the characters. I think it would have been a lot. I don't think it would have been as good of a movie if they had Taskmaster throughout the movie. And also, it makes sense within the narrative of the story that you have all these assassins sent to this place that one of them would succeed, and Ghost being the one with the most like superpower-ish type skills would be the one that would succeed in her mission in killing Taskmaster. So I like that they killed her off, but yet they didn't do it in a way that felt unnatural. So it actually sort of fit in with the plot and the narrative of the story. So yeah, I just thought it was sort of funny how they did that. Like nobody even really cared. They're just like, oh hey, look, she's got something I need, and they just left her in there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And like, cause John Walker and Ghost, I really didn't care for either one of those characters before this movie, and I really didn't like John Walker from Winter Soldier or Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and even at the beginning of this movie, he's sort of a jerk, and he's still not my favorite character, but they did somewhat redeem him just slightly to where like he's tolerable, if I can even say that word. Like I'm just sort of like, he's all right now, rather than like, oh, I hate that guy or he's so annoying or whatever. Ghost, I didn't really like before, and now I still don't really like her that much. I mean, she's slightly more likable, but not by much really. I feel like they didn't really give her much character arc a whole lot. But Yelena and Red Guardian definitely carried this movie for the most part, especially Yelena, which I figured they would, and Bucky. Bucky definitely did. Um, yeah. So, and I figured those would probably be the main ones, because those are characters I already liked before, and they're sort of the leaders, of the Thunderbolts, I guess. Um, but yeah, definitely Yelena was my favorite part of the movie, I think. But I'm definitely glad they added in Bucky because I felt like towards the beginning, once they escaped from whatever that was, that compound area, and they're sort of like walking and everything like that, the movie started to slow down and it started to stretch on a little bit, just a little bit, not like majorly, but like it was moving pretty good. And then that part where like they're having to walk because their uh, truck got messed up or whatever, um, that part sort of slowed down. And when they were in the limo, it started to get a little too slow for me. And then when Bucky came in, it sort of revamped the movie. Um, so that was definitely needed. Um, and I feel like just those characters without Bucky's the one that or Winter Soldier, we've been with the longest and we care about the most. So I feel like if they wouldn't have added him in, um, it might have gotten a little bit stale. Not horribly, but because I felt it getting a little bit stale. Like I well, and at that point we didn't have Red Guardian either, because it was just Yelena, Ghost, and John Walker, and Bob. But and I liked Yelena, and especially at that point because it's just those three. I don't really care for John Walker or Ghost at that point. So Yelena was the only one really holding it together, and Bob's just like at that point we don't really care about him that much. I mean, we do, but we don't really know him that well. So that's where it was starting to get a little bit stale for me. But and then it wasn't very long because then we get Red Guardian with his comedic, relief, and he's the one that sort of gives a good mix in the group because they're all like pretty serious, and, and then Red Guardian's the comic relief, and he really sort of balances out the team. So they definitely needed that, and then Bucky shows up, and so once the whole team's together, then it's good. I have no issues. The pacing throughout the film, from that point on, was good. And when they had the whole team together, it worked. But just towards the beginning was a little bit slow for me, but not like anything bad. It wasn't horrible, but just I felt it a little bit, especially like I said when it was John Walker, Ghost, Bob, and Yelena. They were just like going, or well, actually, Bob had left at that point because he had got captured or whatever. So it was even more boring of a team with Yelena, John Walker, and Ghost. Because like I liked Yelena, but that's it. I didn't like John Walker and I didn't like Ghost. I don't care for, especially Ghost. I feel like, and I feel like the team would be complete, or like it'd be more of a solid team if they killed off Ghost. But and then they wouldn't really have anybody with like really any super powers, rather than just like a bunch of super soldiers. So I feel like that's the main reason they kept her in there. But yeah, I still don't care for her character that much. Um, yeah, and let's see here. I liked how they sort of explored the mental side of like Sentry and the Void, because like they mentioned, you give the serum or super soldier serum to like Steve Rogers, he becomes even greater. Something that they said in the first Captain America movie, talking about like it just basically it just elevates who you already are. So I really enjoyed the element of them playing with that element of like Sentry and the Void, um, and like how if you have someone that's mentally unstable to that degree, um, and then you give them a super serum, what that causes. Um, so one thing I was wondering is, because they did say that they had been experimenting trying to make their own like superhero or whatever, but I don't know like what they used, because my theory, or what my thought of it was, is in Secret Invasion, Nick Fury talked about how at the Battle of Earth, like in Endgame, he had people go out and collect DNA and everything for like blood and all that of the different Avengers and all that. That's how we got Gaia, which was horrible and a disaster. But that was probably my favorite thing of Secret Invasion, was the fact that Nick Fury, because you don't really think about that, like there's all kind of dead like aliens. Well, actually the aliens wouldn't be there because they got snapped away, but I'm sure there's like fallen soldiers and stuff from like the from like Comertage, and different places like that were on like the good side, and blood and all that. So he gathered that and has the Avengers DNA and everything. So I'm wondering if maybe Val somehow got a hold of some of that stuff. Maybe she sent her own team out there and they collected DNA, and that's some of what they used to make Sentry, because of how strong and invincible and stuff he is. Um, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Just dealing with the mental side of that was pretty cool. Um, yeah, and what else here? And then towards the end, oh, one thing I was going to say is it was very grounded and I liked all the action, but I could have probably done with a little bit more superhero cinematic type stuff, which granted, I'm still fine with it with the movie without it because it is grounded, but it's I don't know. It's sort of a weird thing when you have Sentry that's like this unstoppable being and then these heroes that cannot stop him at all, but then the you have to convince him mentally to take he has to defeat himself basically, which I do like that because it's an element of sort of a metaphor for us as ourselves. We have to talk to ourselves sometimes and say, hey, get a grip, or talk positive to ourselves and stuff like that. And I could see that being a real thing, of having to convince yourself to battle against your dark side, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm sort of I like it, but then again, it left me hanging for a little bit of more action, I guess, superhero type action. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Um, and at the end, um, so at the very end, post credit scene. Once again, spoiler warning, but you've watched this far, so I'm sure you don't really care at this point. But so it's pretty long. You get to see that they're the new Avengers and everything, and they're in what used to be the Avengers Tower, and everything talking about how Sam Wilson's trying to assemble the new Avengers and copyright and all that, which I thought was pretty funny. And then we see um, on their satellite or whatever that you see the Fantastic Four ship coming in, which for me probably sort of spoils Fantastic Four a little bit for me. I'm not going to go into it though, but it's pretty cool seeing that we're actually probably going to see the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts probably interact in Doomsday. I think that's what that's setting up, which would be pretty cool. Um, and um, one thing, it's a weird pet peeve, but like in that final post credit scene, their hair, Bucky's hair, and Ghost's hair looks so weird. I don't know why. Um, but like Yelena's look fine, like she would normally wear it, and Red Guardian, he trimmed up his beard and stuff, and he looks a little cleaner. But like Bucky, it's weird. He has like a perm or something. It's weird. And then Ghost hair, she got like a perm, and it's like, but I mean, it makes sense because they're the Avengers. They have to be like in front of the spotlight and everything. But I just thought they looked really weird. But I really enjoyed it. Um, I'm interested to see what they do with Sentry, because he said that like he can't be Sentry without the Void, and how they deal with that. Hopefully they get that figured out, like in Doomsday or something, or he just, I don't know, because it's sort of like, I don't know. There's no point in that character, like, I don't know, or I feel like they should have made it where at the end of that, when he defeated the Void, he's able to be Sentry without having the Void side, because now it sort of backtracks, like the Void could come out at any point or something. Um, but I don't know. Hopefully they get that figured out in Doomsday, because he'd be a good asset to have. Um, so yeah, it was a good movie. So my rating from 1 to 10 would be probably an 8. I think it's a nice, solid movie. Really reminds me of like phase 1 or phase 2 of the MCU, like the good movies. It's not real big in scale, but it's really character focused, which I really enjoyed, and it was a good movie overall. And I don't really have that many nitpicks about it. Yeah, and it's solid. And I was actually like happy and like yes after the movie, which I have not experienced in quite a while off a Marvel movie. Probably No Way Home's the last one. So yeah, I think No Way Home is better than this one, um, but this one's right below it. I think from past Endgame, or well, I think Far From Home was pretty good too. I think maybe Far From or No Way Home, Far From Home, and then Thunderbolts. But it was still a really good movie, and I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, we get more movies that feel like complete movies like this. So let me know what you guys think of the Thunderbolts, and yeah, what was your favorite part of the movie? Your favorite character? Favorite moment? Um, you know, what was your least favorite moment? Least favorite character? All that good stuff. Um, so thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.